Welcome back to the Gamecocks Football Captain's Log, where we as Gamecock football fans recap the previous week's game and we preview the upcoming game. By we, I mean I'm joined by the captain himself, Petey Anabonet of Morris Island Charters. Captain Petey, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I cannot complain. Interesting last week. I forget how this felt. We won a game. We won the Battle of the Cocks, 38-28 against Jacksonville State. Yeah. So moved to 3-6 overall. Let's just we'll go section by section and see what you thought about it. Offensively, Rattler, 399 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, had a rushing touchdown. Xavier Legette, again, didn't look quite 100%, but a monster game, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
What did you think about how we looked on offense against Jacksonville State?
So we were able to give pretty decent pass coverage. We still could not run the ball really for anything. I don't know why we can't seem to fathom what a running scheme should look like as far as blocking goes. But again, it's been that way the entire year. Don't see any reason why that's going to change anytime soon. We continue to get injuries on the offensive line. We've had a different starting group on offensive line every single game. And, that's just what we would come to expect is be terrible at running the ball because we can't block for anybody. We got decent pass protection, although didn't really expect them to get a whole lot, going up the field on us. We're bigger than they are. I think they did get a sack in the fourth quarter, but as far as them being able to, they shouldn't have been able to really truly pressure us like any other teams we've played this year. They're still very good for their level. They're still a very good team for their level. Some of the bad things is, obviously Xavier Legette, not 100%, but still good enough to get open against this team. What concerns me is Rattler. He had quite a few throws where he underthrew it, where if he had just even overthrown it, he would have given our guys a chance to go in for touchdowns. The one against Harbor was underthrown. I think that's the only time he even targeted Harbor. I'm not sure I never saw him on the field again after that. And he had a couple that were underthrown to Legette that he easily goes in for touchdowns if, we can just put enough on it to get it over the defender. So a little concerning about, Rattler, but I don't know if that's just, we suck or, and, we don't have a whole lot of, lot to play for other than maybe make it to a bowl game and to beat Clemson.
Yeah.
What I did like though was, I saw a little bit out of Juju, breaking some tackles and stuff in the second half, and just a little bit of what he used to look like. And then Simon was the shining light as far as the future goes. Trey Knox is not at all the same kind of player that Simon is. Simon is going to fight and get yards. I have never seen Trey Knox do that.
No, it was unreal. I mean, he's a huge target, makes tough catches. You touched on Legette and Harbor. We have not seen them both have great games together.
Yeah.
And this kind of brings me to a concern I have about the passing game that you've talked about a little bit before in other episodes. We're either throwing screen passes or we're going deep. There's nothing really intermediate happening.
Yeah. I think the touchdown that Leggett got called back was a 10-yard crossing route. But other than that, that's the only one I remember seeing. And God, it just makes no sense, especially when you don't have a run game. You need to like facilitate that by having a short passing game in order to open up the long throw, or the long throw or the a screen game. And we're just not imaginative or inventive at all as far as like offensive play calling.
It seems to make us super easy to defend. I mean,
yes, it is. We're super easy to defend. We don't have a lot of, especially now that we're banged up on all fronts. You got to, throw a little variety at them to make especially a short throwing game really helps out your offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't, why we're not, scheming towards things that should be able to help us. Obviously, I mean, Jacksonville State did not cover Leggett half the time he was on the field for some reason, which made no sense.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, they gave us a lot more points than they should have. But yeah, it's there's the game plan here makes no sense. Why? I can't. I have no reason to. There's no justification for it.
Because we talked about how Harbor doesn't really have the footwork yet to do anything other than go long. But Leggett seems like a guy who can.
He has been. He's always been. I mean, that's his. He can do it all. He's, a potential first round pick. So he's not just Randy Monson at hauling ass down the field. He can run all the routes. He can do it all. And why are we not putting guys in places where to be successful? So.
Yeah, and that kind of a great lead in to the other side of the ball. There were some positives, but again, I'm seeing we're putting guys, making them do things that they clearly aren't good at doing.
Yes.
We have guys in coverage who can't cover.
Yep.
And there were some positives, but let's switch it up this time. We'll start with the negatives. What didn't you like defensively? This could go long. So
yeah. I mean, how much time do we have? Okay, let's start up front. We were very aggressive on the defensive line. We would run upfield a lot, and which is a good thing in regular SEC play. But you're playing a read option offense. They are designed to make you be wrong. So when you run upfield, you make them have an easy read.
Yeah.
And basically they exploited that. So for most of the game. And then it just was so ridiculous to me that we just would run after a guy that clearly didn't have the ball and didn't even think that, this is their idea of how they are going to move the ball is to trick us. So why are we being so gung-ho about just rushing upfield and not even thinking about it? And then as far as coverage goes, we are god awful at covering. And they weren't even doing anything scheme wise that was particularly abstract. It was just, running the ball. They just would throw to the open guy, and there was always an open guy because we didn't have a clue how to cover anybody, especially the safeties. The safeties never picked up a deep ball. They got beat multiple occasions. On one of them, I think we were playing pressure down on the receivers, and then the safeties were down too close to the line of scrimmage, and then they just ran right by him, and nobody even really tried to go with them. When you're playing down on the line with the receivers, you got to bump them, get them off the route, push them to the side, something. You can't just let them just go right around you and then on up, for 50 yards. So
I think what upset me about that is they weren't a good passing team.
No, I think they were had the fifth most rushing yards in the country or something like that.
Yeah, they're not known for throwing it. When they brought in their backup who was overcoming shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
And trying to relearn how to throw again.
Yeah.
How are you not stopping that? And that was just.
And we banged up. What's his name? Their Webb. He went out 2 or 3 times with shoulder injuries.
Yeah.
And still just came in and would just light us up because we can't cover anybody.
It just made no sense because I know DQ Smith missed the first half because of the targeting suspension.
Yeah.
If you know anything about DQ Smith, clearly there's got to be some talent there, and I'm sure he does some things well. But at this point of the season, do not have him cover receivers. That's been the story all year. Comes in second half almost immediately, gets burned deep. And now I'm done looking at DQ Smith and I'm looking at the coaching staff because you're putting DQ Smith, like you said, in a position where he can't win. And we've done the same thing. Stone Blanton, middle linebacker, he had the game-sealing interception return for a touchdown. But so many times.
It's almost the other way. Because that ball was underthrown, that was very easily a touchdown if that ball's on target.
So that brings up my point because he's out in coverage. He does not seem like a guy who thrives in coverage. He seems like kind of like a traditional run-stopping linebacker.
Yeah.
And how many times have we seen him out in coverage where you're right, if the ball's thrown better, we lose this game.
Yeah. And the only reason why it wasn't, I think, is because his arm was already beat up. I think he already been out 2 or 3 times, and then on that play he got smashed. I think we sent 2 linebackers. I think Debo got to him on that play if I remember correctly, and then crunched him in the backfield. But God, if he sees that slightly sooner and gets the ball out, the ball was late. And it was behind the running back that was going out, and it just was. If they execute that one play, we probably lose this game.
Yeah. So you've got guys in positions where they struggle. You show up looking like you haven't even really game planned defensively for a team that runs the offense that Jacksonville State runs.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything defensively that's different from when we first started complaining about defense, or even just going back to the Florida game when we were like, probably time for Clayton White to pack his things? Have there been any adjustments since that game from what you've seen?
The only adjustment that I've seen has been last week where we did, we had the 3 down linemen. We're getting pressure for 3 down linemen. And then immediately they figured that out. And then here we are. So I've seen nothing on the defensive line or the defensive side of the ball to suggest that Clayton White should have a job, or that we have any clue as to how to play defense at all.
And it hurts too when you see Southern Cal just got rid of their DC.
Yeah.
Alex Grinch. And it's like, these are moves that have to be made. I will shout out the players. No matter what the scheme, they did make some big plays. That was the one key difference defensively to me. We had some turnovers. We haven't forced turnovers. I think we forced 7 coming into that game, and then we forced 2 in that game. I know Debo Williams.
Yeah, I think we had not had a single turnover in the previous 3 games.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the 2 turnovers we had at the end were not. Where one of them was the one that won the game, but previous to that, and then the one of the after that, it just was, we didn't capitalize on them or anything to have much of an effect on us winning.
Yeah.
So and that's how I believe the turnover game is probably the biggest reason why we're winning or losing games this year versus last year. Last year we capitalized on turnovers, and this year we're not doing anything with them, not causing them or taking advantage of them when they do happen. So yeah. There's a lot to be wanting for.
It's tough. And like overall, a win is a win, and you're happy to get a win. Wasn't really how you would expect it to look against a non-Power 5 school. You have a quarterback who throws for nearly 400 yards. You force 4 turnovers. You don't expect to be basically holding on for dear life at the end there.
Yeah.
But I will give credit to the guys, because that is a game you have to win, and you could have easily folded, and they didn't. But, oh, buddy, that was a scarier.
Stomach churning, especially when we went down, 7 points.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. We were down the third quarter, late in the third quarter.
Yeah. That I was like, well, this is going to go poorly for us. There's got to be like a complete overhaul of this team. Obviously, what we're doing is not working, and I don't know if either Shane Beaner does he not recognize the problem, or is he just unwilling to pull the trigger on trying anything different? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know what you have to lose at this point by changing things up.
Yeah.
But
it wouldn't be a novel approach to change coordinators. Obviously, several of the teams have already done it this year.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's that.
This is what you do.
Yeah. Obviously, when things are trending in the wrong direction, you got to do something different and get away from it.
Yeah. And that's almost always the move that's made. So this Saturday, playing Vandy, noon at Willie B or on the SEC Network. Vandy's 2-8 overall. They have not won a conference game all year. They're kind of the typical Vanderbilt we've come to know.
Yeah.
They played us tough last year, but that running back is gone. They don't really have much of a running game at all. They haven't had a player break the 50-yard mark in rushing against an SEC opponent. Well, they've only had one in 6 games. One of the worst defenses in all of college football. They give up about 34 points a game, which is even worse than us. We only give up 31. I mean, it's Vandy. How do you feel going into this game coming off of that Jacksonville State game?
Not good.
Yeah.
And I don't know for sure that Vandy is any worse than Jacksonville State because of the conference games that they've played. I can't tell you for sure which way, this feels like a pick-em game, honestly, because we seem to get in our own way a lot. And I mean, it's an advantage being at home, but still it's hard for me to have any confidence playing anybody at this point.
Yeah. And we certainly do. I do feel like we play better at home. At least the offense looks more comfortable at home. But this is kind of like, you have to win this game if you want to remain bowl eligible. Obviously, you got to win out. To lose this game would be awful to me because, again, this is Vandy.
Yeah, I don't think we've lost to Vandy in, 20 years?
It's been a while because, I mean, they just don't really have anything. And I know they were trending upwards as Vandy can trend for a little bit, but they've just fallen back down to being Vandy. And super smart guys, great. We're playing football, though. This seems like you build on any confidence you got from kind of grinding that one out last week. This is the game where you have to look smooth and put it together heading into Kentucky and Clemson if you want to have a prayer.
Yeah.
And so can we do that is the $1 million question. They don't have much of a pass rush. They got a kid, Nate Clifton. He's decent, but that's about it. They're not great against the run or the pass. So we've got to establish one of those, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only two things you do on offense, run or pass, and they're bad at both of them. Their quarterback, they've been switching quarterbacks out due to injury. I think they're going to play Seals this weekend. He's got a lot of experience, but again, this is Vandy. He's not someone who you're going to lose sleep over. They don't convert. They're one of the worst teams at converting on third down. So if you can just get them to third down, typically it's going to be third and long. So that will tell a lot about our defense. I don't know. I want to be optimistic, but I'm also a Gamecock fan.
Yeah.
And I've seen how things have gone. And this is going to be interesting. So let's go to the entertainment purposes and see what the Dolphins have to say. We are currently a 13.5-point favorite.
That seems high to me. I would probably put it more at like 10. I mean, you're right. Vanderbilt's bad, but so is our defense, and I don't feel like there's anybody in the country that can't put up a lot of points on our defense right now. I'm hesitant to say this, but I think I'm gonna put all the entertainment purposes on Vanderbilt.
Wow.
Plus 13.5.
So I'm thinking through it, and this has a probability of, I guess, worst case scenario for us, this turns into a shootout. And I do like us in a shootout against Vandy's offense. I think
we will definitely win this game.
Yeah.
But whether or not, we have
it's going to be close.
Score by 14 points to cover. So I don't have a lot of faith in us doing that.
I guess defensively, like I think I've said to death how I feel about our defense and our defensive coordinator. But I guess the one beacon of hope I have is that they do not run a quirky offense like Jacksonville State did last year. So yeah, it might be something we're more familiar with. I would love to see us blow them out heading into these last two games. I am very concerned we won't. And I am just searching for hope at this point.
That's all we can do at this point. We're just see if we can survive till next week.
Yeah.
See if we can get into the off season.
Yeah. That's what it is. So what would you need to see Saturday to give you confidence heading into these last two games?
I need a solid performance on offense, and I need some semblance of defense. Like anything, just guys getting to the ball and tackling well is really all I want at this point, because I have not seen them do that all year.
Yeah. I think it's time to mix in some intermediate passing. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see guys who look like they're in the correct place on defense.
Yeah.
I would like to see some normal angles taken for tackles. I think if we give up more than 28 points to Vandy, I will jump off a bridge.
Hang on a second.
So, we'll see what happens. I'm looking for optimism, especially heading into these last 2 weeks. I know we're going to the Kentucky game, so at least we'll get to see Sandstorm perform live, if nothing else.
That'll be the highlight of the year.
Yeah, that's why we're still in this. But no, I think that will do it. Any other thoughts from you?
Uh, I'm just ready for this season to be over at this point. It's just so disgusting to watch.
You look sadder and sadder every time we do this, but I do
Yeah.
like the hat. You're still supporting with the hat.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I have no choice at this point. I have to be, as much as I hate watching us play, I still watch every week.
You are nothing if not loyal. That will do it for this week's episode. Thank you for watching. Our dear captain's birthday is this week. So if you do feel like commenting, tell him happy birthday. He needs it. Look at us. Look at us. I mean, please. So on behalf of Captain Petey, I'm his first mate, Brandon. If you want to tour with Captain Petey, that's going to be in the show notes as well. Otherwise, we will catch y'all next week.
Bye bye.